No, nothing matters. But there's nothing you need to know. So, like just in our conversation, there is nothing you need to know or do. Like, so any question that you, as Andreas, formulate, like, is beside the point. Because you don't need to know anything. You know it already. I mean that on the absolute level and the relative. So that's that. You aren't Andreas. You've never been Andreas. You're never going to be Andreas. None of Andreas's problems are what create suffering. They're just problems appearing in the dream. Just like now we're walking on insects and killing them or destroying bits of ground. It's just part of it. And then in that destruction something else forms, new insects, new life, new food, new vegetation. There's nothing in your life that is out of place. Your life is absolute perfection in every way. Every bit of suffering, every bit of agony is perfection. It's exactly the way it's meant to be. And you have to live it out with all your heart, the Andreas story. We spend our life shaming everyone for their stories or for their behaviours or their selves or guilt or blame or shoulds or shouldn'ts. And all of this is in the human world, and yeah, it makes for a better society if we follow rules, but it's got nothing to do with this subject. You are perfection, absolute. I'm perfection, absolute. There's nothing that's wrong with us, even if we now stood here and killed Khaleesi. I would then maybe kill you if you kill Khaleesi. No, I still can't do that with a conviction. Like, even if we did that, like, it's still perfection, and it's not a person acting, it's just the appearance of a person acting. So the person appears with anger, the person appears with revenge, the person appears with deceit, and then out of that forms an action of killing the dog. Who killed the dog? And then we think that has to do with something. But it doesn't have to do with something. It is simply life playing out, and it couldn't be any other way. There's no doer doing anything. There is no independent person. It's just a happening. All of it now. So when you're walking, your legs are simply walking all by themselves. And we claim that and we say, I'm walking. Who is this I that walks? There's nobody that's walking. Walking happens, speaking happens, looking happens, hearing happens, action happen. And our illusion is that we act. I act. I'm naked. I'm not naked. I'm free. I'm not free. I'm enlightened. I'm not enlightened. There is nobody. So even if somebody thinks they're enlightened, it's still no different from somebody who is what we define as enlightened. It's no different. It's all coming from divinity. And nothing is outside of you. Nothing. Everything is a production of your brain. And your brain is a production of that infinite, unknowable source, which is free. It's so free. Everything. There's nothing you need worry about or not worry about, but yet worrying happens. But it's not your worrying, and there's nothing wrong with worrying happening. There's nothing wrong with deceit happening. There's nothing wrong with anger happening. There's nothing wrong with love happening or joy happening. They're all the same. It's got nothing to do with that. It's got nothing to do with perfection in the flow of life or how this dream turns out. It is simply that this dream is happening. It is happening to and for no one, in freedom, spontaneously. Walking's happening, Khaleesi's happening, the leaves are happening, the sounds are happening all by themselves, just now, right here. And then our mind puts it into logic, our mind puts it into knowledge, and our mind puts it into cause and effect, which helps us survive. But it's not anyone's survival. And this is where a true joy is, but not joy of a person. It's not somebody's joy, because whose joy would that be? There is no one. This life is absolutely empty. We don't question this silence happening. We accept that silence is right here, right now, but yet all sound and movement, we always attach it to time. Silence, we're like, silence is just here. Of course silence doesn't come from the past, it's just here. But yet all movement, actions, things we do, don't do, that all goes into time. And that all becomes ours and our life and our way of looking at things. Shall we go back now?
Okay.
So silence is right here. I know, like you can almost hear it. It's so silent, even though you can't hear it, and it's not really a thing. And we accept that silence is always apparent in everything that's happening. We accept that the undercurrent is this silence. And we accept that we can't see it, we can't grab it, and we accept that it doesn't come from the past, that it's just here, and it's mystery. But why is it that all things aren't just here? Why is it that all things come from the past and form into a story? Why is it always about stories of what leads to what, when there's nothing that leads to nothing? There is just what's happening. This is not the freedom that any person imagines at all. It's way beyond a personal freedom. And this search for the personal freedom just keeps the search going. For you having a good feeling, for you having a feeling of love, for you having a feeling of bliss, for you having experiences. And it's all illusion, it's all stories that are made up to present yourself with your life and what your life looks like in time. Whereas there is nobody that's enlightened in time. There is no thing that goes into time. There is only what's happening. And these sounds come out and they don't even really make sense in what's happening. They're just like sounds, like a bird singing. But we put so much meaning on them and they have no meaning at all. They just come out. And then we live our life. We do our tax returns, we walk the dog, we pick up shit. We empty the bins, we make love, we look out the window, we drive the car, we get annoyed, we have happiness and joy, and it's all spontaneously arising right here, and that's what we miss. What we miss is the spontaneity of everything, that everything's arising from nothing, that's right here. It's not actually arising from the past. There is no past. There is only what's happening. Past is a construct of our mind, just like actually this moment, in a way, is a construct of the mind, like the distance of the trees, the way in which they look, the colours. All of that actually is illusion, but that illusion is right here. That illusion is what's actually appearing, so that's the truth, right here. But the truth isn't fixed. The truth isn't a thing. You could say that there is no truth at the same time, which is absolute nonsense. But that's the way it is. And it's really terrifying for that person to absolutely surrender to this moment and let this moment act them. Let this life act them. Let it totally hang out. Totally come. And it's scary because you don't know who you'll be. And you don't know if you'll be a good character or a bad character. And you might be a bad character. Equally, you might be a good character. Or, more than likely, you'll be both. You'll be half and half. And that's terrifying to a person. I've got to be a good person, because if I'm not a good person, then society will kick me out. And I'll have to deal with the guilt of being a bad person. It's also like madness as well. Khaleesi, come! He's so cute, Mr. Big Donkey. So these animals, like, they're just totally present, but it's not them being present. We always imagine it's us being present, but they aren't totally present. There's just presence happening. Like, they're just totally into what's happening. There's no separation between what's happening and themselves. They don't know the difference. They just are what's happening. Like, if you present them with a mirror, they can't tell that they're somebody or something. They're just what's happening. They're totally free, just responding. And that doesn't make them good or bad. Like they would either beat up Khaleesi or Khaleesi would beat up them if they got the opportunity. They don't actually know what to make of each other, who's top, so they're both just staying away. But they're just totally in that response, in that instinctual response. There's no separation from that. And the whole world is dictated to them by the way the brain interprets it. So they see things according to the donkey brain or the dog brain, which will be radically different. Especially as Khaleesi's got a predator brain and they've got a prey brain. So life will be so different. And one's not better than the other. And the human sees the world through the human brain, and the human brain has the ability to go, oh look, I'm a body, or oh look, I'm experiencing from a body, and this is who I am. But that doesn't mean that's who you actually are, because when that body dies and when that body changes, that's not what remains. And it's always changing the body, it's always changing the thoughts and the perspectives of who you are. We're always trying to make up stories to maintain who we are, but there is no who we are. So it's always like an endless cycle, because we don't really know what we are. We have tendencies, and then later on we're something else. And everyone was just acting out their particular conditioning. Like, so whatever anyone behaves like, it's just a product of apparently what came before. And they couldn't be any other way. Even though there is no before, in another way there is apparently this before, and we're all acting out those conditions. Just like the leaf maintains the appearance of a leaf, the human maintains the appearance of its particular genetic and social conditioning. It's totally impersonal. And this is nothing new I'm saying. Like everything I'm saying I've said before, and many other teachers have said before, and books and poetry and films, so much has said this. But yet at the same time, it's the first time it's ever been spoken. Come on then. Come on, let's go. Good girl. It doesn't really even matter that I'm speaking about it. That's so unimportant. What's important is that hearing is happening. It's appearing in that consciousness. Like it's not somebody outside of you that's speaking, it's that words are appearing inside a consciousness. Actions are appearing inside a consciousness, and that's the experience. And that's what's important. There's nothing that matters right now. The tree doesn't care, the wall doesn't care, the space doesn't care, the ground doesn't care. The human gets so involved in its life. And the human, has its things to worry about, just like Khaleesi has to worry about what time she gets her dinner, the neighbour's dogs passing by, and the post person. We all have our things that we have to do. The ant has to worry about building its home and following the other ants. Come on then, Easy. I think those doggies are gone.